Okay, let's start. So Kristen initially borrowed $8,200 from the Scotiabank at 3.86% compounded quarterly. Okay, so compounded quarterly, that means PY would be 4, and so would be CY. Okay, CY is also 4. After 3 years, now we'll look at that presently. Let me have look at it. So let's do some highlighting. So 3 years. So let's go to the calculator and enter the PY and CY. So second IY, PY is 4. Anyway, let's enter it 4, and then CY is 4. All right, I can clear and clear again. So now I use this 3 years right here. Okay, this 3 years, that's there. I go 3, and I go second N. So N is 12, and I would enter that number right in there. Now IY, I have the value already, and that value is, where is it? It's right up here. This 3.86, correct? That is the IY value. So I will insert that or input that number, 3.86, and then there is IY. Okay, so that number will go in here. I put in 3.86. Okay, so present value. Present value is actually this number right here, 8,200. So I can put that in 8,200 and also insert it or input it into the calculator, 8,200 present value. Now payment is 0. Yes, we do that. That is compound interest. So payment is 0, and 0 it is. I put into payment. Then I have to compute the future value, and that is $9,201.61. So that number goes in here, 9,201.61. Okay, that's the future value. Sorry, it got a little bit, maybe it got a little bit too much, so that is it right there. Now, after 3 years, what is owing? Well, it's actually this amount of money right here. So if you wish, you could copy that number and then paste that number right into here. Okay, now we got lots of space, so I think if we go back, maybe we'll get it to go back up. All right, so it's after 3 years, but it is before the first payment. So now the first payment is what number? The first payment is this number right here. So to get that number, I have to take this future value. I make it positive by clicking on plus minus. Then I subtract this 2,706 right here. Okay, this number right here. So I subtract 2,706, and that's equal 6,495.61. Now that is the number that will go in here for the next present value right down here. So 6,495.61. All right, that is the number that goes in there. So there you are. So that is the number for the next set of calculations, 6495.61. Okay, let's get rid of that little underscore there. So that number I will insert as present value for the next set of calculations. Now everything else has remained the same. PY is still 4. Okay. CY is still 4. Let's erase these markings here. CY is still 4. Now, what is N? Now, you see how many years have passed. Okay, the next calculation would actually be to get after 6 years, correct? That's what we're looking for. So N, to get at N, we will have to take the we'll have to take, let me erase some of this here. We'll have to take this 6 years here and then subtract 3 years because 3 years have passed and it's 6 years after the initial borrowing. So this number here, actually, to get at n, we will go 6 minus 3. So we go 6 minus, sorry, let's give it a space, 6 minus 3. And that is equal to 3. Now it's 3 years. So that's the number we take and put into here for n. So 3 second n. So 3 times, what we have to take is take the 3. All right, you can leave that 3 like that. And we actually multiply by 4. That is the actual multiplication that takes place. We go 3 times 4, 4 being this number right over here. So 3 times 4, and that is equal to 12. So that's what we're doing. But we use the calculator to do all of that. So that is complete there. So n is 12. Now IY remains the same. It is 3.86. It never changed. So there we are, 3.86. Okay, and we have all that we need. So we enter the present value previously because we were able to do that with the calculation right up here. Okay, 6.4. Oh, after the first payment. Sorry, I should have entered that number in here. That is this number right here. It goes, that is the number that should be in there, which would be 6495.61. Okay, I think we can remove some spaces so that we get it back up there. And okay, so let me see. All right, let's go back in there and then we can do that, and then we get the number to go back up there. So those are the numbers. Let's remove this here, and let's remove that. We've got the numbers in there. Sorry, I forgot to put that in at the beginning, but anyway, that's these two numbers. These two numbers have to be the same. All right, maybe connected them like that. Okay, so this number and that number has to be the same. Now payment is still 0, so that is a 0 that goes in there. And then the future value we have to compute. So we don't have to do much. If you want, you can recall the value for I, recall the value for payment. You want to be sure that it is indeed this number right here. And then we recall the value for the payment. It's 0. And now we compute the new future value, which is 7289.04. So that number goes in here. 7289.04. All right, so there we are. Okay, so that would be the same number that goes in here, 7289.04. All right, now I guess it just needed some more space. So you see those two numbers are the same, as you can see right here, these two numbers. All right. So now you have another payment, correct? Second payment, 3,304. So let's take care of that now. And so we make this positive, plus minus, we subtract 3034, which is the number that is right here, correct? Yeah, that's this 3034. We press equal, we got 4255.04, and that is the number that goes in here, 4255.04. All right, so there we are. And what else do we need to do? Well, we have that number. But that is also the number, this number right here is the number that will go into, yes, right in here. Okay, so we will go down here and insert that number, 4255.04. Okay, and then we get rid of some spaces. So there, that's the same number in there. And so on the calculator, we go and we put that as the present value. Now, final payment. Final payment occurs 10 years after. But how many years have gone by? Well, we have the number right up here. This number right here, that's 6, but let's maybe change the color and then you will see it better. So this is the 6 years right here, and this is 10 years down here. So we go 10 minus 6. So 10 minus 6 is equal to 4. Now that is the 4 that we will use to calculate n. So we just go second n, and n turns out to be 16. All right, you could just insert the number 16 in there, and there we are. That's the value for n. All right, now py and cy, like I said, remains the same throughout the calculation, no change. So we don't need to touch them. We don't need to touch the interest either. Interest is still 3.86. All right, payment is always 0. And I think we have everything correct, but you could always go, you could even go back in and check that py is 4, cy is 4. You can come out up here and then you recall n is 16 now. You recall the iy is 3.86. And then we recall the present value is 4255.04, which is this number right here. All right, payment is 0. We can also recall the payment. And now we make the last computation for the future value. And that number is 4961. So let's put that number into here. It's what, 4961.78. And this number here is the same number that will go in here because now the debt is paid off. So 4961.78. Okay, so there you are. And that, I hope, solves the problem correctly.